Yeah. All right. Well, hello everybody out in YouTube land and Facebook and all the other fun-loving online platforms. I am your host Daniel Crosier, and this is COFOH Live Undead. Uh, I'm out here in sunny, snowy Denver, Colorado, and I'm joined by my guest Damon Della Greca. Damon is the founder of Slasher, the social media app that's blowing up my phone and hopefully a lot of other phones for horror fans the world over. So, Damon, how the hell are you?
Good, man. How about you?
I'm great. It's great to talk to you. We've got Damon's voice here because he is an astroplane spirit. So he is so many talents.
I like to maintain a little bit of mystery when I'm not pretending that that's the reason. I'm not just self-conscious.
Mystery man. Nice, nice. Excellent. Yeah, well, keep us guessing. Don't look behind the curtain.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So Damon, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who you are, where you come from. I know it's a loaded question. And how you got into horror.
So, I'm just some guy. I mean, like, there's not really anything terribly exciting or unusual or frankly quite that interesting. Um, you know, I, I've I've always lived in New York my whole life. Um, Grew up playing, video games and, going outside and skateboarding or, you know, riding bikes and, doing the BMX thing and all that kind of stuff back in the 80s when all that stuff was fun.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I got into horror about that point. Um, it was like the early to mid 80s. I remember the first one I watched was Poltergeist.
Nice.
Um, I caught it on cable one day, and I was just like, "Wow, this is terrifying," and like I'm never gonna sleep again. But at the
Mhm.
same time, it was totally exhilarating, and I just needed more. So I think I watched it every time they aired it.
Nice. Yeah. Anytime you can get a hold of that movie, that's a great one.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely one of my favorites that I'll still, if it's on, I'll watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up with that one as well. I remember as a kid, uh, going over to my grandmother's house, and there's one time where my parents and my grandmother were talking in the other room. They left me in front of the TV. It was on. The Exorcist was on. What the hell?
Oh
And,
man.
and I was sitting there watching that, and when they came to get me, they're like, "Why is the carpet wet?" I pissed.
You were changed and they just didn't know it yet.
They didn't know it. No, they didn't see the ramifications of that till years later.
Right, right.
So that's cool, Poltergeist.
Yeah, that was it.
And then, did that just kind of catapult you into that genre, or were you like, whoa, a little bit much, or you know?
I mean, it did. I was always um into like I was always into like animated stuff or special effects. And it wasn't really one particular genre of special effects. So that's why I just tell people I'm into movies with special effects.
Yeah,
Like, because it wasn't just like sci-fi, it wasn't just horror, it wasn't just fantasy. It was an appreciation for the storytelling and the artwork used to tell the stories that really would draw me in. So I was always attracted to the visual aspects. And the stories, they were just kind of like the awesome bonus that really put everything together in a really nice package. So that's that's something I've really just always loved is to see that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So I could be really all over the place with it. Um, where I might watch like Night of the Living Dead one day, and
Mhm.
the next day I might watch Labyrinth,
Yeah. Yeah.
just because of the artistry.
Oh yeah, it's they're both brilliant in their own right. Using that level of effects, technology to convey the story that they're trying to tell.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just great stuff. It's so much fun. It's very easy to enjoy, and
Yeah.
it does provide that that necessary um, distraction from the everyday mundane. You
Yeah.
know, um, so that's always a really nice thing, and I think that's probably why a lot of us are into what we're into.
Yeah.
Um, because it does sort of transport us into these alternate worlds where these things are not really possible in real life.
Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely. I think there's that level of escapism. There's also that platform of self-reflection. So you can do commentary and allegory.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, Based on some of the stuff that's happening around you. There's so many different tools that can be used for universal storytelling. That makes it so easy to convey and share with a large group of people.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean it's just so amazing how well it does work.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you could just like look at it, all of us
Yeah.
on Slasher. We just can talk nonstop, even if it's the same stuff. It really just doesn't get boring. It doesn't get
Mm.
old
Yeah.
because it's it's not necessarily just a character, but it's an idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's what does this character stand for? What does this, you know, character visually mean? Or, every time you think about a particular character, you could think about a different scene that they were in,
Right.
and just sort of be transported into that particular moment. Um, but yeah, it's just amazing how it works, and I don't see people in a lot of other genres um, doing that same thing. I mean, yeah, there's people who are into movies and stuff, and maybe they watched Goodfellas 850 times,
Mm.
but does it mean the same thing?
Yeah.
Um, I think it's really fascinating stuff.
Yeah. Can you give us an example of like a character or something that you recently had a conversation about that you really connected on Slasher with?
Well, the most recent conversation about a movie I've had was probably Velocipaster, um,
Oh, excellent!
because that
I
is
have
like,
yet to see that one.
I have to tell you, I actually was given a copy of it back in, when the hell was it, August, September,
Nice.
uh,
Okay.
at one of the horror conventions. And I didn't have the opportunity to sit down and watch it, or I should say, I didn't make the time to sit down and watch it until maybe a month and a half ago, something like that,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit longer. And I was so mad at myself for not having done that sooner.
Mm.
Uh, it is just a nonstop riot. It really is.
Okay.
Um, you know, and it's just so one of those things. It's just so funny that you can't help but but every time you think about some silly thing that happened, and you just kind of giggle to yourself. But
Yeah.
anyway, so that was the last thing I probably talked about in general. But
That's cool.
like the particular character, I'm trying to think. Well, I'll give you an example of one that I'm really into.
Okay.
Um, is Pumpkinhead.
Yes.
I friggin' love Pumpkinhead. Um, the idea of the character, the design of the character, and I think it was that was one of Stan Winston's, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Right.
Um, and that whole thing was just I couldn't have imagined a better, more badass character as like a a revenge seeker basically.
Mhm.
Um, so that's one that definitely resonates with me. Um, you know, it, as far as more so than Jason or Michael Myers or
Right.
the more popular characters. Um, but uh, but no, Pumpkinhead absolutely. Um, that one does it for me.
Yeah. I remember watching. I think the first time I saw Pumpkinhead, I must have been in high school. So this
Hmm.
was like in the '90s. Yeah, several years before. Yeah, after it had come out,
Hmm.
and I I absolutely love the design of the monster and that idea of kind of enacting revenge on, and I hate to say it, on the outsider. Um, but this poor kid got killed on just a ridiculous accident, and then later on having the father. I think he started to realize this was a really bad idea,
Yeah, yeah,
and having to reconcile with that before unfortunately it was already too late. So I think dealing with that idea of consequence for your actions. One, because usually with a movie like that, you don't, the main character, the father. I think of the father as the main character. I don't know if that's actually true.
I
It's
would say.
probably the kids who are trying to survive Pumpkinhead,
Yeah,
and but um, and usually that's like some kind of revenge film, like how you would see like a Kill Bill movie or something like that.
right.
But in this one, it's just like shit. There are consequences. An eye for an eye. It really does make the world go blind.
Yeah,
So it's interesting, to see that, you know, try and reconcile that, trying to resolve that, and because I think at the end, Pumpkinhead, dies, but so does he. He sacrifices himself. I think only one of the kids like makes it, if I remember right. I mean, it's been just a few years since I've seen it last.
yeah, same. But yeah, I mean, I love the emotional journey too.
Yeah,
Being able to do something like that and sort of go through phases that you could sort of say this makes sense. Where at first it's just a whole terrible situation
yeah,
that really was just an accident,
yeah,
and just being so out of your mind, distraught, and then being so desperate to stop the pain,
yeah,
um, and try to find a way to reconcile things, but it's all wrong
mhm,
because at in times like that your vision and your mind is completely askew, so you really aren't thinking clearly, and it's just kind of like whatever will make this stop, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
um,
The sense of Lance Hendrickson as the father losing
yeah,
a son. I mean, what an unimaginable pain to go through.
right, right, yeah, and I mean that whole journey for him, and and just sort of seeing how it manifested into basically this big monster.
Yeah.
Um, it was a really, in my opinion, it was really well done. It was something that I think a lot of people can at least understand if they can't directly relate to, which I would say is probably hard for a lot of people to that degree. Um,
Right. Well,
but
and if you were to take away the supernatural monster aspect, if he was to just focus on the drama, I mean,
yeah,
it would have been, just a great dramatic piece,
yeah,
a character study, of Lance Hendrickson as the father,
hmm,
you know, going through all these different emotions and then deciding that he wants those kids to hurt like he hurts.
right,
And,
right,
and then, later on, you know, realizing it's like, crap, I can't, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't, enact revenge,
hmm,
even if there wasn't a monster, you could have, you could have just gone and got his shotguns and probably mowed them down. Because they're just a bunch of silly kids looking for a good time. But even that, yeah, that doesn't justify all
I,
that, except for the fact that we want to see a monster.
oh yeah. See, I think it would have been harder, if not impossible, for him to have done that.
Mhm.
Because it was kind of like murder by proxy,
Right.
you know, where he only did, you know, that whole ritual thing that was necessary to bring Pumpkinhead to life. Um, he really didn't necessarily have a direct hand in anything else.
Right.
So, when you put yourself in a position where it's like, okay, someone else can do your dirty work or you could do it yourself. Um, I don't know if he would have gone through with it.
True. True. I think you're probably right. He would probably, um, I guess do whatever anybody does in that time. Just hurt and you become an alcoholic, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, just whatever it takes to sort of dull that kind of
Right.
pain, it's really unfathomable. But seeing it play out the way it did, I mean, obviously, it was an exciting way to see things unfold.
Right. Um, just to change gears a little bit,
Hmm.
um, with Slasher with the app.
Hmm.
When did you start? When did you come up with the idea and start working on
So, I came up with the idea. mm, let's see, it was over a year ago. I
it?
think
Oh,
it was
okay.
it was in the fall of. Hmm, I think it was in the fall of 2019,
No kidding.
something like
Fall
that.
fall of 2019. That was just last fall.
No, 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 I'm sorry, 18. Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
All
my
right.
math right now. I did a lot of it today, so.
That's all right. We're all kind of quarantined, so everything's kind of going to mush.
But yeah, it was about fall of 2018. Um, I actually had another company
Hmm.
with a couple of other partners, and the whole point of that company was to build other businesses.
Okay.
Um, and the last thing I had brought to the table was Slasher.
Hmm.
And, I was in that business for over a year. And it just kind of was one of those things where it just sort of disintegrated
Hmm.
because, you know, one person would sort of vanish, then another person got, busy with things, and
Yeah.
just kind of was like, well, I'm doing my own thing in the meanwhile. So at a certain point, I just had to say, look, you know, I, you know, I was going to go to school and take another path, and I spent over a year with everybody, giving that up and putting that on hold to do something more.
Right.
And nobody's doing anything, so I'm basically taking my stuff and I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Um, I you know, it was either do it or don't. So, um, I uh, I left with it and
Mhm.
basically was in development like a month later,
Nice.
which was just kind of out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it to be as quick as it was.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It came together, pretty quickly. Had you built other apps before this?
I haven't built apps before.
Okay.
I've built like some pretty massive websites and things like that.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, I even learned how to do some of the coding back in the, late 90s on my own, but I still always had other people do the coding because it's just not something I was proficient at.
Okay.
Uh, it's I can put all the concepts together, I can put the ideas together, I could put the functionality, how things are supposed to work, how they're supposed to look, and all that kind of stuff together.
Yeah.
You know, getting down to the real technical nuts and bolts, you know, wasn't really something I was skilled at.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that that kind of thing always comes with a lot of growing pains.
I'd imagine. Yeah, I couldn't imagine. Yeah, building something like that. I have no background in web design, graphic design, anything like that. Anything
Yeah.
creative I do, it's got to be pretty tactile.
Well, that's cool. I mean, that's a good thing.
Sometimes it gets me into trouble when it's like, hey, can you do this in Photoshop? That's cute. No, but I can edit in Premiere. I can do film, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, it sounds like the app and everything came together pretty quickly.
Hmm.
I've been in those situations where you're a group project and nobody's pulling their weight, so you go off and do your own thing. So I can totally relate to that aspect. It can be frustrating.
Yeah. And I mean, that's really what it boiled down to. Um, is you know, somebody puts their life on hold essentially,
Mhm.
and then everybody's just kind of like, you know,
Right.
not paying attention to anything. And like, well, okay.
Yeah, there's that sense of feeling unappreciated or a disingenuous sensation amongst the group anyway. So that can
I,
be frustrating.
for me, it's more along the lines of, are we going to do this or not? Because if we
Right.
are, great, let's do it. If not, then I'm going to do this on my own.
Right.
Um, because I had come up with the whole entire concept, so all the IP belonged to me.
Yeah. Good.
Um, it wasn't like one of those situations where, the company owns your intellectual property. Everybody maintained their own intellectual property throughout the whole thing. Um, and I thought that was the most fair way to handle it. Um,
Nice.
yeah, but yeah, it just kind of came down to getting things done.
Good.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I've been working for myself since '96.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, um, with like maybe 2 years working for somebody else in that span,
Hmm.
just to regroup and figure out what to do next. Um, but yeah, that was it. That was it.
That's fantastic. The moment that you launched, do you remember the date that you launched Slasher?
It was it was in June. I think it was the weekend after it was a horror con. I want to say it was Pop Rock and Horror in Gettysburg,
Oh,
It,
cool.
it was supposed to launch that weekend, but there was a delay, and um, it just wasn't ready. So
Yeah.
I said, all right, just get it ready, do what you got to do, and
Mhm.
make it happen. So the following week, it finally came out, and okay, great. um, so that wasn't too bad. It wasn't like a huge 3 month delay or anything. It was just a week.
Okay.
Um, but the whole first version was really an experiment.
Mhm.
Um, it was kind of like me trying to see if people would take to older concepts
Yeah.
um, that could effectively be used in the same way that modern concepts are being used. Um, so, I tried doing that. I did a whole lot of experimenting
Mhm.
and getting feedback and stuff like that. And, really that's what it was all about. Um, and damn it, like people were not kind when
Oh,
when the initial version came out because it
okay.
wasn't like everything else, and it was super new,
Mm.
um, and it needed to get on its feet. It needed to, I needed the feedback from people. I needed to
Yeah.
understand what people liked and didn't like, and I wanted to see if what I thought was possible to sort of go to older stuff that's a little bit simpler would work, and it didn't, and that's fine. But yeah, some people were not kind.
Yeah,
um,
it's a big. Well, you launched it. Did you do it? It sounded like you got some feedback from friends and peers, I suppose.
well, it's more like, so the ratings in like the app stores,
Oh,
some of them were just complete shit, and it's fine.
yeah.
I like hearing about what people don't like,
Okay.
so that I could make improvements.
Hmm.
you know because I told people when it came to feedback, I said, look, tear this thing apart. I want to know everything that you really don't like here. I mean, yeah, I want to know what you do like, but it's
Yeah.
more important to know the stuff that you don't like, because that's the stuff that you're gonna remember.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that's gonna like eat at you and be annoying, and that's the stuff I want to fix and build upon and make better. So all the feedback I got from the first version went into 2.0, which is essentially what we've got now.
Okay.
Um, so it was all that terrific feedback, and you know even the bad ratings, they helped, because
Pushes you.
it yeah, I mean, it did, it pushed me a lot harder to say, okay, you know people are really not thrilled with what this is right now,
Yeah.
and that's okay, because I know what I want to do.
Mhm.
It just comes down to, how do I want to do it?
Right.
um, and things change like on an hourly basis, pretty much.
Oh, I
uh,
noticed. Yeah.
they really do. So I have to be ready to accept that, and I have to be ready to act and do what I need to do to take care of things. Um,
And you're managing this whole app all by yourself, right?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's quite the feat.
But thankfully, everybody's been cool for the most part. I mean, a couple little issues here and there, but I couldn't have really asked for anything better.
Yeah.
Um, so it's been really cool, and you know, the majority of people have been really, really awesome.
Good. Good.
So
Yeah. As you progressed and you've got version 2.0, right?
mhm.
Out. Um, has the feedback been more positive, or you know, or you seem to thrive on that critical response.
Mhm.
Um, but the feedback's changed to more positivity, I suppose.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean,
Okay.
because a lot of people who use it at this point, they'll look at it and go, okay, this is something I can at least start to work with.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, I've got about 7 years worth of features,
Okay. Wow.
so there's a lot of stuff that's not even anywhere near most people even knowing about.
Mhm.
So there's so much stuff that's still coming that this is really not even the tip of the iceberg.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, but to what you were saying, yeah, I mean, people have been much more, um, I guess, well, kind in their responses.
Okay.
You know, where it's like, yeah, it's a work in progress. It's still being built. It's still really new, but the features that are there, it's cool. Um, but yeah, there's some stuff I definitely need to add to give people some of the stuff that they're used to and some of the stuff that they want. Um, and that's just how it works.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to be working on that stuff and getting it ready to get out there.
Yeah. It's for us, for the Colorado Festival of Horror, it was, it's kind of, well, it certainly is the demographic that we want to tie into, uh,
Sure.
to, for all our messaging, and I mean, yeah, it's kind of a captive audience, and they're into it, and we're into it, and you know lovingly, I refer to this as kind of like, it's like, well, you remember MySpace? It has that feeling to it in terms of how it operates.
Yeah.
Um, so that, and I say that with endearment. So
Oh,
um,
I absolutely take that as a compliment. MySpace, out of all the social networks I'd been on, or at least the more substantial ones, that one was my favorite.
yeah,
Um, I thought it was so much better than Facebook. Um, so much better than Friendster, which a lot of people probably don't even know. Um,
I don't even remember that. I think I was on it for a month before it went kablooey.
yeah, yeah. But it was one of the first, and it was before all the really really massive ones came out.
Yeah,
Uh, but no, I mean that's totally cool. Um, I, I
that's cool.
certainly I certainly appreciate it. Being compared to something like that.
Um, can I ask how many people now use your platform?
Oh boy. There's over 10,000.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's grown pretty quickly. Um, I've sort of been holding the reins on it a little bit,
Mhm.
um, just because I didn't want it to grow too fast and just explode
Okay.
and just be a disaster. So, I've been sort of holding back with a lot of advertising and promotion. Like I'll do some specific stuff here and there,
Mhm.
but there's really not a whole lot out there. Um, so it's gotten great word of mouth and all that kind of stuff. Got some, you know, some of our press releases got published and stuff. So it's cool. It's very very steadily growing, um, and I'm just waiting till the right time to really just sort of say, okay,
Mhm.
now now we could spend some money and really advertise.
Yeah,
Uh, but I haven't done it yet, so thankfully it's been great, and yeah, it's been manageable too.
that's cool. Yeah, especially if you're doing it all by yourself, and you want to make that push. I mean, I wouldn't even be able to comprehend what kind of foundation you would actually need, or platform you would need to be able to really get that push. What kind of infrastructure?
Yeah. I mean, it comes down to having people who know what they're doing,
Hmm.
which was the problem when I started. Because, I mean, when it came to development, I was relatively green myself, but in in several months, I learned really, really fast that, you know, there's certain developers that know what they're doing, and there's certain developers that shouldn't probably be saying that they're a developer.
Yeah, they should step away from the computer.
Yeah, or at least, hone your skill. I don't think anyone should ever give up on anything if
Sure.
that's what you want to do, but hone your skill.
Hmm.
Um, so I recently basically got rid of the initial development team completely and started with a new team.
Okay.
They're still getting up to speed on everything, understanding, what was done, understanding the code and all that kind of stuff, looking at the server and how it's set up. So, it takes a little bit of time for them to get where they need to be.
Yeah.
But, but I have stuff in the pipeline for them. And as soon as we're able to get some of this stuff done, I think people are going to be really, really, really happy.
Nice.
Yeah, because they're going to start getting some features that they've been wanting and asking for, and um, you
What's
know,
the most common asked feature?
the mentions.
Hmm.
So it's
Oh,
the
like tagging people or something like that.
user tagging, where it's like at and then somebody's username,
Yeah. Okay.
that kind of stuff. Yeah, that has been the most requested feature. Um, and you know, just trying to make sure um, that everything has a solid foundation.
Hmm.
Because I want to make sure that the app is strong and
Yeah.
it's working the way it should. Because there are still bugs from from the first release
Oh, okay.
that the initial development team just completely you know didn't deal with. So these are the kind of learning experiences I've had.
Yeah.
um, so now I'm to a point where I'm like, all right, well, here's how I have to work.
Mhm.
And if people are gonna work that way, then they must know that they can do the job. Because if they can't, they wouldn't spend 1 second of time even thinking about working that way, because
Right.
they would totally they would put themselves out of business. So, it just comes down to somebody who knows their worth is going to be able to do this if they can, if they can make it happen. So it's been good so far. We'll see over the next few days, what happens, because I do have a release that's supposed to be coming out this week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, nothing huge that anybody's going to really jump up and down about,
Okay.
but but I do have an update coming out, and I'm just aligning with the new team to see, okay, what are these features? How much time do you need to
Yeah.
build all of these features? And right now I've got over 3 dozen, almost 4 dozen features
Nice.
that I really want to get out this year. Um,
Okay.
yeah, there's a lot in there. It's it's going to be just thousands of hours.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Wow.
yeah, but it's going to be good stuff.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. It's very, very exciting. Um, for me to just put this stuff together and go, oh my God, people are going to really be into this because they like this. So this is going to kind of come as a surprise or whatever.
Mhm.
See how this works. So like
That's,
the movie section, like the mainstream movies.
yeah,
That was something that just kind of came out of, hey, I would love to do this. How can I make this happen?
right.
And like 2 weeks later, it was in development because I found all the pieces that I needed, and then it came out, and then I was like, all right, you know what? Let's put the watched movies in people's profiles,
Yeah.
and just little things like that. So, and I think people are really into it because I'll go in there and I'll be like, damn, there's a lot of people who rated these movies. This is awesome.
There is. I finally figured out, that section of it. So I've been, adding that. And I think, don't you have like a book section and like a band section too?
So, yeah, so that's all under Discover in the menu. Those are all super, super basic right now. Even the indie movie section,
Yeah.
they're basically just free plain text listings. Anybody can suggest whatever they want. Um, and at some point, all of those sections and about another dozen that are still coming are all going to look like the mainstream movie section.
Okay.
So
Cool.
people have the opportunity to create basically like um, a really complete profile for their movies or for their music or their
Nice.
books or their whatever. I'm doing something for conventions. I'm doing something for haunts. I'm
Nice.
doing something for all the people that are in our community and have something that they make or sell or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the artists, the podcasters. Wow, the
There's
podcast
a lot of
section,
them, man.
there really are.
Yeah.
The podcast section is going to be awesome.
Cool.
Um, yeah, I am super, super excited for that. Because honestly, it'll give me an opportunity to have them all in one spot and go, oh, okay, so and so has a new episode out
Yeah.
today. I'm going to
Just
give
go
it,
there.
you know. So there's just so much that is still coming, and like I'm just excited to see other people enjoying it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff is stuff that I'm just like, yeah, that would make my life better or easier or something. So cool.
Yeah. I think the nice thing too about yeah about slasher is it's message focused. People that love the genre, from all walks of life,
Mhm.
can come there and congregate. Online, make new connections. You go onto some of these other social networks, like something like Facebook, and you're just inundated with everything from ads to today's news or today's clickbait or whatever, and you're kind of distracted and you're off doing something else when even though you went there for a specific reason.
Right.
But slasher, it is specifically horror, and it's the love of horror, and it's the love of the people that love that.
Yeah.
um, it's a great platform. It's a wonderful giant tent.
Hmm.
So it's great to see that so many people are connecting on there and over it. Yeah, I can't wait to see it grow and watch you expand like the event pages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously for me for selfish reasons, but but
We could talk more about that kind of stuff. That's no problem.
yeah. Um, but and yeah, at the same time too, what a perfect thing to have during this uh, you know this time that we're having. We're all having to like self quarantine
Yeah.
to deal with this. What a great place to kind of connect over. When we can't physically meet these people in person. So that's always um, very much welcomed, and it even makes it that much more endearing. Um,
Thank you.
Yeah. The other thing too I've noticed is like, in my world with doing events, some of these events are now, they're postponed or they're canceled. If they're going to happen in the next few months, some of
Mm,
them are trying to set up, virtual online events uh,
right.
to various degrees of success. But they're trying,
Yeah.
and on something like Slasher, I mean, this is my suggestion. You know, uh, with those events, just kind of maybe look at expanding those platforms. Not right now, but like that might be something down the road too.
Like all of this stuff is actually something that I've worked on,
Hmm.
and on a weekly basis, um, I find a new way to achieve it. Um, because it's been said that it really kind of is sort of like a mini horror convention,
It
like
is.
an
I
app.
agree. Yeah.
But I'm trying to find ways to bring almost every single facet of that to the app. Because that's really like when I'm happiest is being at those conventions and
Oh,
just
that's sweet.
hanging out with really great people and talking and you know sharing our experiences and stuff and having a great time. Um, so I'm really trying to do that for everybody who loves going to the conventions,
Hmm.
everybody who's not able to get to the conventions for whatever reason, whether they're too far away or
Yeah.
you know maybe they just have social anxiety or whatever. These are all things I've really taken into consideration and trying to give everybody as much of that experience as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important for everybody to be able to at least have a part of it.
Right.
If you can't be there for the actual thing, what's the next best thing? And I'm really trying to make that possible. So that way, you could sort of have all your friends and
Mhm.
you know talk about your movies or
Yeah.
do a watch party together or something. Um, I mean, sure, it's not exactly the same, but for most people, it's good enough. And that's really what they want is people that they can hang out with and talk with and you know that everyone's on the same plane.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hopefully they want that intimate, endearing connection.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it seems like that's what everybody's doing so far, which has been amazing.
Yeah.
Uh, I would have never ever expected things to go the way that they have. Um, like you get an inkling that something at least in theory could work a certain way, but then when you see it actually materializing, it's flooring to to see that happening and go, well, shit. I mean, I, you know, I knew this was a concept, but I didn't think it would materialize at all.
Yeah.
Not the way that it has, not at all. And that's due to everyone who's there. I can't take one bit of credit for that because it has nothing to do with me. I mean, I just provided the place and what people are doing and how they're interacting and everything. That's them.
Yeah.
That's all
Well,
them.
yeah, it's your house party. So my hat's off to you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Um, yeah, it never ceases to find a new way to just be like, damn, that's really incredible. Like, what maybe that person said
Mhm.
or what that person said or how they're, treating one another with really a ton of kindness,
Well, good.
um, has really been something.
Yeah,
So I'm
that's
super,
awesome.
super thankful. Yeah.
Um, so Damon, with that, Um, and incidentally, I just have to make one little remark.
Sure.
Um, back in the day, out here in Denver, we used to have, and we will again real soon. We used to have a Mile High Horror Film Fest. And I come from the comic book world. I mostly do horror comics,
Okay.
and coming from the horror or the comic book conventions. And then going into like Mile High Horror Film Fest, they started bringing in some vendors, and they'd set up in the Alamo Draft House here in Littleton in Denver, and the you know having the interactions with the fans going to go see the films for that
Mm-hmm.
was absolutely amazing. Less than 1/10 of the population of something like Denver Comic Con, which I don't know, supposedly has like 100,000 people come out for that.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
small.
we would have like under 10,000 maybe that come
Mm-hmm.
out to Mile High Horror Film Festival.
Yeah.
The enthusiasm was tenfold, I
Right.
would say. The horror, the fans of horror, anything horror, especially for a film festival, you don't know what you're going to go see.
Right.
You just bought a ticket to something that you think kind of look good. You're basically, it's like listening to the album, or just buying an album based off of the artwork. The trailer looked neat. Let's go see this untested thing. So that was always sweet. But yeah, everybody was enthusiastic. If you had anything horror, they wanted to learn about it. They were infectious, and it was awe-inspiring. At a comic book convention, the crowd is hot and cold. It's
Yeah.
it's 50-50. You're gonna find that comic book fan that's really into what you're doing, and then the next guy is totally not. Um, and that's completely fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I always found the horror community, the audience, it was kind of like this big supportive mass of individuals, and they would come together and support everything that you're doing, and in turn you would support anything that they were doing. It was absolutely inspiring, and that's why I really enjoy not only the idea but the application of slasher,
Mm-hmm.
because you're really starting to bring that experience into the virtual world, and not in a lawnmower man kind of way. Nobody needs that. But if you do, better graphics.
Under control. I think we have the people who did the VFX for Velocipaster on it.
Oh, fantastic. Nice.
When,
Excellent. That's much more believable.
when you see that movie, you will understand exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, yeah, I've seen the trailer. It looks preposterously wonderful. I can't talk. Holy crap, my head is turning to mush. So is my tongue. Anyway, but so Damon, as kind of a shepherd of horror and the social aspects of it. What do you as a fan, like these days? Like what films or books are you watching? I guess you can't watch a book, but you can certainly read it.
Books are really tough for me because my schedule doesn't really give me very much time. So the only things I can read are like super, super short, or things that I can sort of take smaller bites from. Um, so I never really have the chance to get into novels and stuff like that, unfortunately. But I do read whatever smaller stuff I can get my hands on. Um, so, stuff like that. Uh, oh, hold on a second. I have to give you
Oh,
a really cool. Yeah, this'll be cool. Let's see. Just have to find it here.
I
Okay.
wonder what it could be.
I'm just grabbing a book.
Okay.
I want to get the correct title.
Hmm.
Uh, okay. It's by a buddy of mine, Patrick Thomas.
Oh, cool.
It's called the series is called Dear Cthulhu: Good Advice for Bad People.
That sounds great.
Please check it out. Um, it's it's funny. It's it's funny
Right.
stuff. It's basically like an advice column from Cthulhu.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It really, really is. Um, so please check it out. He's got
Is there a website?
yeah. So well, actually, he's on. I don't know if you know, but I put together, or I've been putting together this list of things for people to do during a pandemic.
Excellent.
So it's slasher.tv/50 things. He is on that list, and I believe the link that is there is either a free or a very deeply discounted copy.
Okay.
Yeah, so you could definitely find it on there with a lot of other really amazing short films, feature-length films, other books, podcasts, YouTube channels. There's a free issue of Rue Morgue on there that they gave us access to.
Oh, cool.
There's it started out as about 50 things. We're almost at 100, and it's only been a couple of weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, so always looking to get more people on there, so that way we can sort of keep people occupied and entertained, and
Yeah.
maybe not stressed out these days.
Right. Right.
But but aside from that, and aside from books, movies, I've been going. You know, I've been trying to go into the indie stuff as much as I can.
Hmm.
So, for example, I recently watched Doll Factory from Wild Eye Releasing.
Okay.
That was fun. That was fun. Um, then from, let's see, um, 1031.
Hmm.
31 was, I think it's from Grey House Entertainment.
Okay.
It's an anthology, but it is incredibly well made. Um, so I watched those fairly recently. Um, what else did I see? And then every Friday, um, Slasher kind of hosts watch parties.
Oh, that's
So
great.
yeah, and what we do is we end up finding or getting movies that are on some sort of streaming service, whether it's Netflix or Amazon Prime or Shudder,
Hmm.
and people get together. We actually are using Slack right now for the live chat. Um,
Oh, okay. Cool.
yeah, because I have to fix up the chat that's built into the app and make it a lot better, frankly. um, but we're using Slack, and if anybody wants to check that out, they can just follow or friend Slasher Movie Night on the app.
Okay.
Um, it's also on Instagram if people feel the need, but going directly through the app, you're going to get all the information, the link to Slack and everything.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, so that's been a lot of fun. This past weekend, they did Tammy and the T-Rex and then Velocipaster. Uh,
Nice. I've heard of Tammy and the T-Rex too.
yeah, I mean it was a good dino double feature.
Nice. Yeah. It had a theme. Hmm.
Yeah, every once in a while that does happen.
Right. Right. That's fantastic. So,
Yeah,
man, it sounds like uh, this app is really taking off. Communities growing pretty well, and yeah, it's sky's the limit.
yeah, I'm definitely doing my best. It's really for all of us, and
Yeah.
especially the independent creators out there, because I know that there's a lot more that could be done to support them.
Yeah.
You know, guys like you who are doing your podcast, you know, the filmmakers out there who are putting their stuff out on Prime and, you know, hoping that they'll maybe make a few bucks, you know, or just to get it seen.
Right.
You know, so there's a lot of stuff that could be done, and you know, I think that you know, as a community, we could certainly get there. It's just going to take a little bit of time and uh, elbow grease on my end.
Yeah.
but but yeah, there's a lot in the works to really bring this whole community closer together, and sort of make it easier to find all the stuff that you might never see unless you were at a convention.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I'm absolutely excited for all the new things that Slasher holds, and for the stuff to come. Uh, Definitely let us know how things develop, and where you're at with stuff, and how we can promote what you're doing, and hopefully connect some of the people that follow us on other social medias, with what you do. Um, and hopefully we can see your face in person at some point. If not, this year at our event, maybe in future years.
I would love that.
Yeah. I think we're gonna have to wrap it up, Damon. But is there anything else that you want to add?
No, but I mean, other than what we've already talked about, you know, again, just to tell people, if you're looking for something to do, and you know you're stuck at home during this whole situation, this pandemic, check out www.slasher.tv/50 things, and that's 50 things. Um, there's a lot of free stuff on there, you know, especially the movies. Um, you know, there's some books that people are doing either for free or they're giving some nice discounts on. There's just a ton of stuff. A lot of podcasts are on there, so it's hundreds and hundreds of hours worth of stuff to do. So hopefully that helps out, takes the edge off of a lot of this anxiousness that we're all having,
Yeah.
you know, having to deal with this and all the uncertainty that's out there. You know, we're trying to provide, you know, a little bit of an escape because we need it.
Yeah. Most definitely.
Yeah, but thank you. I mean, this has been a lot of fun, and I certainly appreciate it, man.
Yeah, you bet. It was great to chat with you, David. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
That'd be terrific.
Excellent.
All
Uh,
right.
well, with that, I'm Daniel Crosier here with Damon Della Greca from Slasher TV and COFOH Live Undead. Yeah, saying adios. Uh, Incidentally, I'll probably have a few more interviews to do since we are all in self quarantine. But take it easy.
Bye.